Thank you for joining us today. Out of interest, who of you is currently implementing an AI-driven project? Who of you is planning to implement one within the next 6 to 12 months? And last one, who's a startup? So I think if you're a startup and you want to implement AI technology, it's totally different from what your company has achieved. Your company is 300 years old, even older. You have a large history. You have many systems. Can you share with us, Maninder, what triggered the idea? What were the challenges, the opportunities that went through your head and said, let's do this?
Yeah, so Britta, Aviva is a 300-year-old company, and we've grown through different acquisitions and mergers. So over the years, we had customer data, which was sitting in different systems. Each had their own different data models and different business processes. And as we were looking at modernizing our ecosystem, given the fact a lot of us create moments in our life which are digital, which are digitally enabled, it was very important for us to unify the data of customers that we had in our different systems. So that was a genesis for us to relook at our existing data systems and modernize them, essentially creating a foundation for a more digitally enabled customer experience.
I think that ties right into what you did. What are the most important things that you were looking at, considering when starting to work with Aviva? Manish?
Well, in working with Aviva, we looked at the challenges that were in their environment, and we, as a company at Reltio, have been focused on this area of data unification, bringing information together from different silos inside the enterprise, and we looked at our past experience. I looked at some of the things that needed to be done differently, because insurance industry is very different from the life sciences industry, is very different from even financial services type of companies. So understanding a little bit of that landscape, understanding the common versus different factors that would influence that. But for us, it was at the end of the day a data problem that needed to be solved, and that was the consistent pattern that we were able to apply to bringing a solution to this kind of an environment.
When you talk about data, I mean, that's important for any company to interact with their clients, to win new clients. What were the challenges that the existing data landscape posed at a business for going into the future?
Every company has a varied data landscape. There are hundreds of different applications that they are using inside any given enterprise, and that creates a lot of complexity. Because when you think about what Maninder just mentioned, every one of those applications has a different data model, has a different schema, has a different set of information. Sometimes it's overlapping information, because almost every system has to have some amount of customer, product, supplier type of information in there, but they all have different bits and pieces of it. None of these systems, by default, have a whole view or the complete view of that information. So how do you semantically reconcile that and then create a system of context that spans all of these different systems and provides you the holistic view, not by querying 300 different systems or 3,000 different systems, but by querying one system of context and getting the information instantaneously from it. And that's the simplification that is needed in these types of environments. So that's the work that we have been doing with Aviva and several other customers as well.
So essentially, if you just look at it, when you want to create a unified view of the customers, our teams had to navigate through different systems to create the whole, or to create the whole story of that customer. So having a single system where you are able to get the data from different pieces and portions, think of it like Lego blocks. You bring the data of Lego blocks together in one place, and that empowers our call center agents, our sales teams to create more personalized experiences, and that creates the feeling of being cared for in the customer's mind, because the customer does not have to wait for a long time while the call center exec is trying to navigate through different systems.
And I would also think that the client feels he's known by you, because I would envision clients have multiple insurances, and each insurance has data with it, and if that's not consolidated. But I'd like to take a step back and say, or learn from you, how you, or what kind of process you followed when you set up the strategy. I mean, if that's a large project. You don't just say, okay, let's start here. So you would have had to have a strategy. How did you go about? Whom did you involve? You're a large company, you have colleagues. Can you share some information on how you set out, so we go top down?
Yes, so I wasn't there when the program started, but I can tell you what I picked up as I joined the organization. So this was a large project, and we had different systems which were archaic, which were not really helping us achieve the end goal of creating a data fabric for the organization. So when this program started, there was a need felt to create digital experiences. It was the convergence of customer and marketing, of our market heads, people who were owning the business P&Ls, the CIO. So everyone had to come together to create this story as to what is the benefit that will come out of Aviva. So it required a lot of thinking, understanding how do you plan the transition, because you were changing the gears for a moving car, and we still wanted to keep servicing our customers well. So every transition was very carefully planned. We wanted to make sure that we landed well, without errors, without any inaccuracy for our customers. So it was a well-designed, well-thought-through, and a very forward-looking step, which has created the foundation for us for not only digital experiences, but also helping us get to be more future back for the customers for tomorrow, and also creating a foundation for AI.
Well, I would think from a strategy point that you kind of focused on certain areas first. How did you decide on them? I mean, there's more executives in one company, and one executive probably says, okay, I'd like this one, the other one says that. How was the internal discussion, and how did you?
So that's really a very deep question, and I think fundamentally for us in Aviva, customer is at heart of everything. We want to do everything in the best interest for our customers, and that is why the first initiative that we took was, how do we start bringing a single view of customer together? So we started with the axis of customer, and that is where the journey started.
And how did you support in that phase of?
Well, the support for that phase starts right from the top-down orientation, where, think about a business. What are they trying to do? They're trying to grow. They're trying to make sure that they're doing it in an efficient manner. And at the same time, they're trying to meet all of their compliance and regulatory risk type of requirements. And as long as there is alignment along those three vectors, then creating the narrative that helps you with driving outcomes in those areas becomes the way to organize people behind it, and getting stakeholder buy-in. Because at the same time, you may have different ways of coming at the problem. It can be solved in many different ways, but you really need to figure out how to align the business stakeholders to those goals and find the shortest path to realizing those goals. So that becomes the ROI-based argument for driving through these types of programs.
I was just going to say that. What were the key arguments that convinced the, how should we call them, people that doubted that this step is necessary?
There are always people who are thinking about there's a different way, or maybe this won't be successful, or skepticism around it. But again, aligning them back to the growth as an area, which you will hardly meet a business that says they don't want to grow or grow faster, or they don't want to run at a faster speed. So if that directional alignment is there, then it's all about making sure that the stakeholders can get behind it as well.
And
so creating frictionless experiences for our customers was at the heart of this design. And that was very clear for the all the stakeholders in the organization. When you keep customer in the mind and then you start designing back, what are the things where we can be more efficient? How can we help our business grow, but also help our customers? The conversation becomes easier if you put customer at the heart of it.
Yeah, you just mentioned you aligned everybody and saying, okay, serving the client better is the overall goal. Going from there, how did you break down into the different steps and focus on which ones to take first?
So when we went through this transition plan, so we actually had this, we started with a single view of customer. That's what we created first, which essentially meant bringing systems, and obviously Manish and his team really helped us because they had the advanced technology in terms of making sure that we are defining the data models correctly, data survivorship correctly, bringing different systems to have a 360-degree view of the customer was the first step. And as then it was delivered in progression. So ensuring that you have the customer masters correctly, then what kind of wealth assets they have, that's how the trajectory started. And we are still in the progress.
Mm-hmm. And how did you solve that then? Bringing all the different data sets together and unify them and...
Yeah, great question. And a lot of times what we have seen in the past is that it becomes a boil the ocean type of an approach. Everybody wants to go after everything. But instead of doing that, the whole approach that we have taken is start small. Start with what matters most. And if you're, let's take the example of customer information. What is the basic core customer information? If you're a customer of a retail company, you don't want your retail company getting your name wrong. So start with the simple facts of life.
That's a tough one.
And then expand from there. Then think about the additional attribution that needs to go into it. Then think about the additional information about the makeup of the household that you want to understand, or different types of interactions and transactions that are taking place across all different lines of business or from an omni-channel experience standpoint. So you think about these as the increasing set of concentric circles that you want to create and manage, but start with the smallest one to begin with, because that becomes the nucleus for these types of efforts.
Okay, now I have to think about which question to ask first. One is, how did you get the data AI ready then? But the question beforehand probably is, how did you decide on which AI systems to use? Is it an internal one? What kind is it? Are you using AI agents?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at this. So our fundamental philosophy at Reltio has been that whatever data we aggregate and unify from all these different systems, we are creating a system of context. We are informing all of the consumers, and AI is one of those consumers. So how do we make sure that any AI model can be plugged into this information? What is the conduit that we need for it? There's new protocols. We saw MCP protocol, or the Model Context Protocol, come about earlier this year. How do we make that able to plug into the data that we are providing? How can then large language models be used efficiently against that kind of information? So every such opportunity creates an opportunity for us to think about what are the different conduits that need to be put into place for these different consumption models to be able to talk to the data that's sitting inside the Reltio platform. And that approach has served us well, and that's how even customers like Aviva are starting to embrace the capabilities.
So for us, it's a two-pronged approach on AI. The first one is increasing the top line, and the second one is bringing efficiencies. So I'll start with the efficiency first, and we're using the platform which Reltio has to improve the data quality of all our customers. That's where we're using the models which Reltio has to make sure that when we are converging data from different sources, we are getting the golden source, golden truths of the customers. And when you have the data which you can trust, the data which is reliable, the data which is consistent, and it is interoperable across different systems, you are creating opportunity for creating personalization of experiences, Because look at it, we are an insurance company. Someone who is 20-year-old has a different insurance need from someone who's 70. So if you put customer in the center of it, those experiences need to be curated, those need to be personalized, and that's what we are using AI for. We are going to help our customers understanding their context, understanding the ecosystem in which they're operating. What is that they need? Have they just bought a new house? Do they need a new house insurance or a motor insurance? Or they're planning for their retirals? We are using AI and technology to help them with the next best action. So we are in the journey for that, and we are extensively using the capabilities which are there in Reltio in convergence with other systems which we have in our landscape.
Okay, and I think that's important, just working with Aviva, they're in insurance companies, to get the data AI ready in the right context. If it was another company, your project would look different because the context is a completely different one. Is that correct?
Yeah, the context is different from industry to industry, but the problem of how data needs to be able to talk to these large language models that are coming about, and every company will have a host of choices to pick and choose from. And our assumption is that companies will experiment with one model, but then settle on another one, and this will be an ongoing cycle because there will be continuous improvements on the AI model side that will come into the market. But the connection between the system of context inside the enterprise with the AI models that you want to deploy, that's the critical combination that needs to be brought together.
And we typically, being in insurance, we stay associated with our customers for a relatively longer lifespan. When you have wellness products, when you have pensions, you have a lifetime value that you need to offer for your customers, and that is where understanding the touch points, understanding the digital touch points with our customers helps us personalize those experiences for them.
Can you share some results with us, like feedback you got from clients or impact you saw internally by pivoting to that strategy?
So when we moved from the old way of doing things, which was the federated systems, when we moved towards a central system with Reltio, our calls in the call center significantly dropped because we had the foundation for a consistent data quality, and we had lesser people calling us, and our call center agents were able to spend quality time with their customers, understanding their need. We had a significant drop in the call centers.
Okay. Can you share a little bit more on the outlook? What is next on your agenda?
For us, especially working with Aviva, we are looking at the next frontier of how this information can be used and how it can speed the time to decision across the entire business landscape. Because at the end of the day, whether you're using AI models or how you're informing those models with the information that you've gathered as a part of your business, it all comes back to increasing the clock speed of your business. Every business wants to improve on that. And it would be hard to find any business out there that says we want to move slower. That's not going to happen, has never happened, will not happen.
That's a good point that you're making, and I think it's a good question to end with you, because your company is over 300 years old, like we learned. I would assume that there's many processes and things that can't be changed that fast. But how has this project helped you so far to take that to transpose it into different areas of your business, to speed up the time, like Manish just said?
I think getting the customer data in one place just sensitizes every decision maker in the company to the art of possible. And that is the genesis of how we are looking at the business outcomes in a different way. It has acted as a catalyst for us in reviewing some of the processes. How do we shorten the lead time to service our customers? That served us very well. In my mind, any data project should be looked at as a business program, because it is here to make an impact on the business that you are serving for. Data happens to be the fuel which runs that engine.
I think that's an excellent point to end on. Thank you so much for the conversation. Thank you for joining us.